Alright, so guys, good evening. Um, Today we're looking at setting up first Visual Studio Code. Want to welcome you all to this cohort. First thing first is that it's important that we establish that this video in its entirety and the series is sponsored by Oluwaka Institute and in partnership with Innocent Chukwuma Empowerment Foundation ISF. And there's a training currently going on at Oluwaka where you can learn front-end web development, the 50% discount. Alright, so that out of the way, we're today going to be looking at how to set up your Visual Studio Code for the first time. For a certainty, my development environment has been set up already, so we don't need to do all this. But for those of us who are studying for the first time, we'll have here the various windows you can use, the various tools you can use within your Visual Studio Code. For a certainty, this first, second, and extension are more like constant. They will be shipped with Visual Studio Code. So this is this file explorer, search, extension will definitely be, and then debugger will definitely be constant in your Visual Studio Code. So you will need to extend the Visual Studio Code environment to be able to get some of all these other tools. But be that as it may, as a developer, one advantage of Visual Studio Code is its flexibility for you to expand on your workspace. So your development environment will definitely get to suit your design or development pattern. Some developers, you will not see some of these things, and some developers you will see more than these things that you're currently seeing on the screen. So whatever it is, we will get there eventually. But I'm just going to talk about this. You click on any of these to open the tree, and you can see what exactly you can do here. And like I talked about in the morning, we'll have open folder, and we have the option to clone a repository, which we are going to get into in a short while from now. Believing or supposing that you have actually created a folder on your computer, it is very easy for you to do open folder to get the folder you are going to work on loaded. Like I mentioned during the morning class, one thing about this journey is that for every project you're going to be working on, it is good that you abstract a project. And when we say abstract, I mean it is good that the project should be standalone, kind of. So standalone in the sense that if you're working on a school management portal, for example, let school management portal as a project be kept in a directory where all the resources that is associated with that project are also going to be in that same directory. So we don't want a situation whereby you created a directory for school management portal and your file is just scattered around in your document folder. So it doesn't make any design sense or development sense as it may be. It is important that everything you're going to be using on that project should be kept inside a folder, and that's what informed our decision of creating folders per project. So once the folder has been created, you can open it from here. But again, sometimes you may not want to create a folder before you start doing all those things. So probably you just want to open your VS Code and you work directly from VS Code. So you can click on open folder here and you create a folder you want to actually work on. So for example, I'm going to document where I want all my projects to be, and I want all my projects to be inside Oluwaka, for example. As you can see now, it doesn't make sense for me to open Oluwaka directly because Oluwaka is the parent folder. I don't want to always open one parent folder and all my projects are open at the same time, because it doesn't make also a very good sense, especially for those people who might want to go into back end, because when you create virtual environment, you don't want one single virtual environment to serve everything that you're going to be developing. So it is important that you create a folder for each of the projects. So right here and now, I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call the folder Intro to HTML. Okay, and that's the folder that I'm going to create, and inside this folder I pretty much do not need to do any other thing here. The only thing I just need to do is to select this folder, and then select this folder, and then click on this select folder. So this folder is going to be open to me, and it's going to be available for me to work with. Now you have Intro to HTML here. What it means is that everything I'm going to be doing going forward are actually going to be domiciled inside Intro to HTML. So it has abstracted this for me, and you can definitely see this oftentimes asking you, do you trust the content, the source where this folder is coming from? Obviously, if you so trust it, and you tell Visual Studio Code that yes, I trust this thing, then it will enable all the future for you, just as you can see little here. It will enable the all the folders for you, so that you have liberty to do literally anything you want to do on it. But if you say you don't trust it, then it will be restricted mode, because you don't. What you're trying to tell VS Code is that as it stands, yes, even though this resides on my computer, I don't have holistic control over what is happening in here. So for you not to encounter this question again in the future, you can just say you're trusting all authors. Trust the authors of all files in the parent folder all workers. So that means that you're the one who is actually creating it. So I'm just going to go ahead and say I'm trusting it, and I'm going to say yes, I trust the author. So now you can see that Intro to HTML is here as a parent for us, right? So what we need to do now is we need to explore some of these options here and see what we can do exactly with them. So the first thing is this little icon here called new file. You use it to create new files, and you use this to create new folder, right? And this will refresh the Explorer, and this will collapse the folders in Explorer. So for example, I'm going to create a new file here, and I'm going to call the file index.html, and the file will be created for me. And if I go to my Explorer, as it were, if I now go to my Explorer, and I go to Document, which is where my files are located. I go to Document, and I go to All Worker, for example, and I come to Intro to HTML. Here definitely you're going to see index.html, and it is created about 1 minute ago, 1849, on the same day. So but what happens if I want to create a folder? Say for example, I am creating a folder called test, and as you know, a folder wouldn't have an extension, so it is just going to be the bare folder name. So I'm creating a folder called test. So if we go again to Explorer, you're going to see that it is actually going to have that as a directory. So we have this, and we're saying all work, and then Intro to HTML. You'll see we'll have a test folder, and we'll have an index an index file. So for example, I'm saying now that I want to create a file inside the text folder. So what I'm going to do is I ensure that the folder I am actually working on is selected, and I click on new file, and I'm saying let's say try.txt, for example. And you can see that there is an actual relationship between this file. Now, test and index are on the same level. They are called siblings, while try is a child of test. So it is not a direct sibling for index. So take it like this is a family, and in this family, this is a family, and in this family we have this as a man, and probably we have this as a woman, or we have this as a woman, and we have this as a girl, right? This as a woman has birthed try.txt, but this as a girl does not have a child yet. So what it means is that test and index are sisters. But test is older than index because test has gotten a child called try.txt. Again, look at it like this, because this is like a flowering plant, while this is not a flowering plant. So what it means is that a flowering plant is going to have fruits, but a non-flowering plant will not have fruit. So as a folder, there is tendency of having folders and files kept inside it. But as a file, you cannot have another file kept inside another file. So that is why this cannot have a child, but this can become a child of one that exists. So let's try one more example. I'm creating another folder called exit, for example. And inside this exit, or let's call it something that makes sense, let's call it archives. We'll have a folder called archives. I mean, in this archives, there is nothing currently existing in it, right? So now that we have an archives folder, can we put a file inside an archive? So you select the archive folder and you put a file in it, old, that's just like that. We'll put a file old in it, and then now the question is, what if I want to create now that old is selected, I don't want to create a file inside archives. I want to create a file that is going to be a sibling to index. So the thing you do is you click somewhere outside here so that this is active, then you click a new file, and then we can now call this main.html. Something like that will work. All right. So that's how you do it. Let's look at the file explorer. As you can see, we have main, index, test, and archives. These are siblings. When you go inside test, for example, you will see that try exists inside test, right? Try exists inside test. We'll go back here and we'll go to archives, and you'll see that old exists inside archives. So it is very important that you take note of the relationship between files. It is called file structure. You need to understand how the files are structured, because if you don't, you might not be able to reference these files when you start developing.